So I kind of want to tackle this a little bit because she was talking about the reason for college is higher education. And I don't think people have a good idea of what education means. I say this because I've heard this a lot from people. People go to college and say, well, I'm educated. Based on the context of the conversations, when they say educated, what they're referring to is simply having paper credentials. Paper credentials doesn't mean you know anything, right? I've met people, for example, who have done kinesiology. Now, I've been training, I work out a lot. I've been training, I've read kinesiology books. I've helped people train personally, done personal training for people for 10 plus years at this point. There's a lot of people I know who go to college, and because they go to college, they think they know everything about, say, exercise science. And that might have been their major. They might have read a lot of books. But then I'll sit there and say, okay, well, this works in the book because this is theoretical in the book. But in the real world, you can't do things in this exact way because in the real world, there are lots of different types of people with lots of different body types, with lots of different things that hold them back, strengths, weaknesses. And you have to take all those things into consideration. And experience will actually help you identify what separates person A from person B, from person C, from person Z, from person Y, from person W. Make sense? If you just read the book, you just understand the theory. You have to put the theory into practice to get an actual objective sense of comprehension of the thing you're trying to understand, or of a topic. If you're someone who goes to college and you think going to college alone makes you educated, I would say you have a false idea of what education is. Education to me is the act of learning. It's the act of gaining knowledge. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, you don't need college to gain information. You can go to a public library and read all the books, and you'll probably be the most knowledgeable person that you know, because most people aren't going to go through all that effort. Will most people do that? No, of course not. Do most people want to be educated in the sense that they're actually knowledgeable? No, of course not. Because if they did, they would do it. It's easy. It's free. Literally, it's free. You just go to any public library. You don't need anything. You don't need money. And you check out a book and you read, and that's it. What college gives people nowadays, and I think this is kind of why I don't like college, is one, it gives you a false sense of entitlement. I do think it makes people feel entitled. It makes people think that they're better than other people, especially when it comes to being educated. But if we really want to break that down and understand what that feeling of entitlement comes from, I would like to say college gives you false status. That's what colleges give you, false status. You going to a college, say for example, you go to Harvard, you have false status. Why? Because you went to Harvard and you and people around you think that you're better than someone who went to community college. Are you? Of course not. Are you even smarter? No. There are plenty of people who go to Harvard. I've met people who went to Harvard who aren't very smart, who know as much or less than someone who went to community college. And I'm sure you can probably think of examples, you yourself watching this, of people who didn't go to college at all, who may have dropped out in high school, who maybe just went to community college, and who are more successful and more knowledgeable and more wise than people who went to university for X amount of years and maybe even became a doctor. PhD, medical, you take your pick. There are people who didn't go to school at all who are way smarter than both of them, or both types of people. But having a PhD and being a doctor, being able to put a doctor in front of your name, what does that give you? Status. On the surface, it makes people respect you more than the person with no title at all. So really what universities give you nowadays is status. And I think that's what people mean when they say, I'm educated. They're saying, I have higher status than you. And people think that having higher status means whatever you say matters more than the non-status person. It's stupid. I'm going to be honest. It's dumb. It's pretty stupid. Obviously, status shouldn't, if you were to go get surgery, and it's kind of like the previous example. You're going to get surgery. I want the most experienced surgeon to do my surgery. The person with the highest success rate, who's encountered the most problems, the most situations, who's overcome those things the most, I want that person to do my surgery. I don't care about the person that has a doctor in front of their name if they failed all their surgeries, right? Status. Most people do care about that. Most people will go to a doctor and assume that because they're a doctor, whatever the doctor says is fact, even if the doctor is not competent or not a good doctor or the doctor's lazy. Status. So this is kind of one of the other reasons why I don't like universities is I think universities it puts status on a pedestal in society, and it makes people think that because they have a title or because they went to a certain school, they are able to make decisions better than people who actually might just be more intelligent or more competent. Competence should be up here. It's not. It's down here nowadays. Status is what people seek out, and it's sad. I think it's going to lead to the detriment of society, at least in America.